It is the second week of May, and freeze warnings are posted across 5 states tonight. And that is not even the strangest part of what I'm about to show you. 4 months ago, the same ocean pattern driving these freeze conditions pushed Dallas to 80 degrees on Christmas Day. Same switch, same El Niño signal, and right now it is flipping so fast the atmosphere does not know what season it is. We have freeze warnings from Montana through the Dakotas, wind chill advisories stacking into Michigan, and severe weather firing in Mississippi simultaneously. One pattern, 2 completely opposite emergencies, 1,000 miles apart, same engine, just pointed in different directions. Stay with me because in about 6 minutes, I will show you the exact moment this El Niño flip triggers the most active severe weather stretch of the season. And if you make it to the end, I have one specific date range you need to write down. Model agreement. Not me just trying to end on a warm note. Here is the number I could not stop staring at this morning, and it still hits different every single time I pull up this data. All of March and April ran 3 to 10 degrees above normal coast to coast. 2 full months of historically warm temperatures. Then inside the first 7 days of May, the northern plains flipped to 15 degrees below normal. That is a 25-degree swing in the wrong direction inside of 1 single week, folks. 25 degrees in 7 days does not just kill your garden. It catches emergency managers and utility companies completely flat-footed. And here is the part that genuinely stopped me cold when I first pulled up this morning's warning map. We are not talking about frost on the Canadian border. Orange freeze warnings are driving deep into the heart of Minnesota right now. Right alongside those, wind chill advisories are stacking from northeastern Minnesota through Wisconsin into the upper peninsula of Michigan. Folks, we are 7 days from the unofficial start of summer, and the upper Midwest is sitting under freeze advisories. The jet stream is heading north into Canada and diving straight back down into the central states like it is January, on repeat all week. If you have anything growing outside right now, cover it before sunset tonight because this freeze warning is not bluffing. Drop your city in the comments right now and tell me what your thermometer is reading this morning. I read every single one. Now let me walk you through the warning map city by city because these numbers make you do a double take on a May forecast. Bismarck, North Dakota, lows dropping to the mid-20s overnight. Highs tomorrow struggling to reach the upper 40s. Williston and Dickinson are sitting deep inside that orange freeze warning zone. Expect hard freeze conditions well before midnight tonight. Fargo, your area ran 8 degrees above normal all of April. Your plants are calibrated for late spring, not a hard freeze, and tonight that gap matters. Grand Forks is right on that warning boundary. Temperatures are going to drop fast after sunset, and the wind is going to make it feel even colder than the thermometer shows. Minneapolis and St. Paul. The Twin Cities has not seen a freeze warning this late in May in over a decade. Right now, you are watching overnight lows brush 31, 32 degrees on the forecast. Genuinely rare territory for mid-May in the metro. St. Cloud and Brainerd, you are fully inside that orange zone. Wind chills tonight could push into the upper teens before sunrise tomorrow morning. Dale and Bismarck, Margaret and Minneapolis, Carroll up in Duluth. 2 months of early spring. And tonight, the thermometer reminds you May is not done with winter yet. Duluth, you are inside that wind chill advisory with lake-cooled air off Superior already in the mix. Wind chills will run colder than surrounding inland areas, plain and simple. Bemidji and Hibbing, you are sitting right at the overlap between the freeze warning and the wind chill advisory. Both threats are real tonight and both deserve your attention. Now moving east into Wisconsin. Park Falls and Rhinelander are inside that yellow wind chill advisory zone, and temperatures there are running a full 12 degrees below normal today. Green Bay and Wausau, you are on the southern fringe of the advisory, not under the warning itself, but cold enough that anyone spending time outside tomorrow morning is going to feel this pattern. Marquette, Michigan. running 10 to 12 degrees below normal in the second week of May, is the kind of number that makes a forecaster double-check the data. Traverse City and Alpena are inside wind chill advisories right now, readings that belong in October, not the week before Memorial Day weekend. Good grief. The Petoskey and Cadillac areas of northern Michigan are also running well below normal. Lake effect cold off Lake Michigan is adding an extra bite to an already brutal air mass. Now I need to shift south because Mississippi dealt with something yesterday that deserves your full attention before we go any further. 4 tornado emergencies in a single day, the most in a single day since 2023, with 2 tornadoes likely pushing ETH F3 intensity or stronger near Monticello and Brookhaven. The same supercell stayed on the ground for an hour and a half. One storm, rotating continuously, producing back-to-back violent tornadoes across southwest Mississippi. Prayers to every family impacted. If you have loved ones near Brookhaven or Monticello, please reach out and check on them right now. Here is the connection between those Mississippi tornadoes and these Minnesota freeze warnings that is not getting the attention it deserves. The same Arctic trough driving freeze conditions up north is creating the boundary that fueled that supercell. Cold air from the northwest, Gulf moisture bottled in the south, violent collision at the seam. Same engine, 2 different disasters, 1,000 miles apart, happening simultaneously. And that boundary is not done with us this weekend, not by a long shot. The Storm Prediction Center has 3 straight slight risk days lined up. Today across Florida, Alabama, Georgia, and back into Mississippi. Mainly damaging winds and elevated tornado threat through midday. Pensacola, Tallahassee, Valdosta have a reliable way to receive warnings today, especially through late morning when these storms reach peak intensity along the moisture boundary. Mobile, Alabama, and Hattiesburg, Mississippi, you are sitting right in the zone where clusters of storms could produce damaging winds and an isolated tornado into the early afternoon hours. Tomorrow, Friday the 8th, severe weather shifts into the Central Plains. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Springfield are the cities I am watching most closely for the afternoon window. The slight risk Friday includes hail potentially reaching 2 inches in diameter, approaching golf ball size, doing real damage to vehicles, rooftops, and anything left unprotected outside. Elk City, Bartlesville, and Stillwater, Oklahoma. Watch for storms firing along that frontal boundary from around 4 to 8 in the evening, and stay inside once large hail starts falling. Saturday the 9th, the threat concentrates across Oklahoma and Kansas. Isolated hail is the primary concern, with a low-end tornado possibility you still want to take seriously heading into the weekend. Now let us talk about the silver lining buried in this forecast, because the Southeast is actually getting something it desperately needed this week. The Carolinas and Virginia have been running drought conditions for over a month, and this cold, unsettled pattern is finally delivering meaningful rain to those areas. Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, you already picked up over an inch, and counting Monday and Wednesday, you could see 4 significant events inside a single week. 4 rainfall events in 7 days after a month of bone-dry conditions. That drought index is going to flip fast once those totals stack up, and that is genuinely good news. Atlanta, Tuesday into Wednesday, another system moves through. Expect additional rainfall before this pattern finally begins its long-awaited shift away from the cold. Chicago, Monday brings more cold and unsettled weather. Arctic air still over the Great Lakes keeps instability low and the severe threat limited for your area this round. Now here is something I want you to sit with for a second before we dive into the El Niño mechanics, because this next part genuinely surprised me when I first connected the dots. We went from 10 degrees above normal for 60 straight days straight into 15 degrees below normal inside 1 week. And the same ocean signal is responsible for both extremes. That is not a coincidence, and it is not random. That is a pattern transition that meteorologists have been quietly watching build for months, and it is now playing out in real time across your backyard. Now we have reached the moment I promised you at the very top, the El Niño connection that ties together everything strange you have watched this spring. Picture the Pacific Ocean as a giant battery. El Niño is the process of that battery flipping polarity, and we are caught in the most turbulent moment of that entire flip right now. When that battery was charging through March and April, it flooded warm air coast to coast. 80-degree Christmas in Dallas. Historically warm readings everywhere you looked. But here is what nobody warned you about when they said El Niño was coming. The transition period is historically the most volatile stretch of weather in the entire calendar year. The Gulf moisture pipeline gets disrupted. The jet stream loses its reliable lane, and you get freeze warnings in North Dakota alongside tornado emergencies in Mississippi on the same afternoon. That is not random chaos. That is the atmosphere going through a genuine identity crisis because the ocean just changed its mind about what season to be. And here's the part not getting nearly enough attention outside the weather community right now. The second half of this transition is when the most explosive severe weather patterns of the spring historically show up. Once El Niño fully locks in, it yanks the jet stream south, pulls Gulf moisture further north, and builds the southwesterly flow that drives the big outbreak setups across the plains. Think about what the atmosphere over the central U.S. has been doing for 2 weeks. Cold, stable, suppressed. Like a lid sitting on top of a boiling pot that cannot release. When that lid finally lifts, everything that has been building underneath it is going to collide all at once. And that collision is the setup that produces the headline severe weather days. We are moving into that second phase right now, and here is that date range I told you to write down at the very beginning of this video. Between May 18th and May 23rd, both the Euro and the GFS are signaling a large-scale ridge, a pattern flip away from this Arctic trough, and widespread severe weather returning. Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and the Missouri Valley, that window is when the ingredients finally come together for a real outbreak pattern, and the signal is coherent across multiple independent model systems. The confidence on that signal is higher than you would typically expect this far out, because both major models are independently pointing at the same window without being forced there. Now, here is your honest uncertainty. The exact start date is still shifting a day or two with each new model run, and that is completely normal at 11 days out. What is not shifting is the direction. Every ensemble, every teleconnection index, every guidance system is pointing at the same May 18th to 23rd window, no exceptions. After 2 weeks of cold, stable air suppressing everything, the Gulf air mass floods back with built-up energy. And the atmosphere does not ease gently into warmth. It overcorrects hard. Kansas City, St. Louis, Indianapolis. Sitting in the cold pool all week, you could see temperatures swing 20-plus degrees warmer inside of 10 days. Way too fast for it to feel gradual. Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, same El Niño whiplash signature for the entire Ohio Valley. Same potential for a dramatic warm-up that fuels the first real outbreak pattern of the season. Now I want to ask you something directly. Are you feeling this El Niño transition differently from past springs, or does it just feel like random weird weather to you? Drop your city and your honest take in the comments. Your ground-level observations genuinely sharpen the forecast, and I read every single one without exception. The 8 to 14-day outlook shows a massive signal for above-average temperatures returning across the majority of the country. The battery is charging toward full discharge. And when it discharges, it will not be a gentle warm-up. It will be the kind of reversal that goes from May freeze to severe weather outbreak conditions in under 2 weeks. That is what El Niño transitions do. They do not give you a smooth ride from one extreme to the next. They give you whiplash, and then when you are still dizzy, they hit you again. Bob in Indianapolis, Earl up in Green Bay, Betty in Wichita Falls. Here is your straight talk, bottom line on everything we covered today. No fluff, no padding. Now let us also look at the total precipitation picture because both major models are telling an encouraging story for drought-affected areas heading into next week. The GFS shows a strong precipitation spread from the plains eastward. Really no complaints from anybody in that corridor over the next 7 days. The European model is similar with only a minor dry slot over northern Mississippi and parts of the Great Lakes, a small pocket that could easily correct with a slight storm track shift. Plains-based drought areas in western Kansas and the Texas Panhandle are the ones I am watching most carefully. Those regions are more vulnerable to extended dry stretches and need multiple systems to make a real dent. For the upper Midwest, even after the freeze tonight, rainfall chances return by early next week as the cold air gradually moderates and moisture works its way back in from the south. Here is your real-time checklist, straight and simple, no fluff, just what matters right now for each part of the country. Freeze warning zone across Montana, the Dakotas, and Minnesota. Cover your plants before sunset tonight and treat this exactly like a late October frost, because that is essentially what it is. Wind chill advisory zone across northern Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan. Cover exposed skin. Do not underestimate wind chill and check on elderly neighbors tonight. Severe weather corridor across Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and the Gulf states this weekend. Find your shelter spot before Friday afternoon and keep those alerts turned on tonight before you go to sleep. Carolinas and Virginia soaking up this rain. Let it fall. Check your drought maps in a week and know that this cold pattern is doing something genuinely useful for your water table heading into summer. And for everyone everywhere right now, charge your phone and your backup battery, because when freeze events and severe weather are hitting multiple regions simultaneously, you do not want to be the one at 12% when alerts start firing. Now, here is something I want you to think about as we head into the weekend. This is one of the strangest May weather patterns in recent memory, and the records agree with that assessment. The combination of active severe weather in the south, freeze warnings across the north, and a multi-week below normal temperature pattern east of the Rockies simultaneously in May is genuinely rare. El Niño transitions have historically produced some of the most memorable and damaging spring weather outbreaks on record. And right now, we are living through the setup phase of exactly that kind of transition. The models are not showing this as a brief interruption before normal spring weather returns. They are showing a persistent pattern that stays locked in through at least the middle of the month before finally flipping. That persistence is actually what gives us more confidence in the May 18th to 23rd severe weather signal. The longer the cold suppression holds, the more energy builds underneath waiting to be released. Think of it this way. Every extra day this Arctic pattern sits over the eastern U.S. is another day of stored atmospheric energy that has to go somewhere when the pattern finally breaks. And when that energy releases into a warm, moist, unstable air mass from the Gulf, it does not produce gentle spring showers. It produces the kind of severe weather days that make national news. We will be tracking every model run, every ensemble shift, and every signal on that May 18th window daily as it comes into clearer focus. Do me a solid right now. If you know somebody in Fargo, Minneapolis, or Marquette who does not know what tonight looks like, send this to them before sunset tonight. A heads up from someone they trust is worth 10 push notifications they are going to swipe away without reading. And tonight is not the night to catch anyone off guard with a hard freeze. Make sure notifications are turned on so you do not miss a single update as this pattern evolves over the next 10 days. Things are going to move fast once that flip begins. Bottom line, 15 degrees below normal locked in tonight across 5 states. 80-degree Christmas and a May freeze are two sides of the same El Niño coin. And May 18th is the date to watch. Stay safe out there, stay heads up on those freeze alerts tonight, and take care of the people around you. We will see you in the next update.